brief as possible.
Get me in it, so
because it is the last session. So essentially there was a sports science assignment a few years ago that was definitions based to try and get students familiar with the terminology, but we were finding that we were getting a lot of just copy and paste and submit. So we thought we'd change it up. They still have to do the definitions, however, instead of typing them, they handwrite them on these cue cards that we provide, and they've got to reference at least 10 of them. Quite a number of students tell us at the start of the year that they do know how to reference, but this gives us a good indication of actually if they can. And then we grade them on that and then provide feedback whether they need to improve this type of skill or whether that they would like help before the first major lab. So we provided the information to them as well that the cue cards are a great revision tool when coming into tests and exams. When information's in your own handwriting, you're more likely to retain it. And because you've actually got to find the information yourself, read it and write it down, it enhances your ability to record it. So some other bits of information that go along with this as to why we changed what we were doing. Handwriting is a multi-sensory process and it caters to all different learning styles. And it's known to enhance memory, focus and engagement compared to the old copy and paste that we were doing. Increasing vocabulary and understanding of terminology and comprehension. There was a meta-analysis done of when vocab is specifically taught to students in kinder to grade 12 in 2009. And they found that students with reading difficulties actually had the biggest gains overall and actually caught up to their peers in terms of comprehension. Introducing prior knowledge. When I was teaching primary school, Sheena Cameron was a big literacy educator and she produced the writing book amongst others and teaching reading comprehension strategies. And she said by providing things like vocabulary tests and cards, it gives something for students to hook onto when then you start explaining it in class because they've already heard this word prior or seen the word prior. Writing physically leads to better retention than typing because it is a slower process and it goes back into the sensory motor feedback loop, meaning that it's deeper cognitive processing and allows for better factual recall in exams and tests. A little bit more. I know that differentiated teaching is one of the hits, but universal design for learning is a bit of an alternative way of looking at it. Traditionally, differentiated teaching, when you're planning a lesson or a unit, you plan it and then you make your adjustments for the students of different abilities. But UDL is more about what's good for one student is actually good for all. So if you've got students that struggle with comprehension and you might normally just target them with specific strategies, there's no reason you can't do that with a whole class. So it's more about whole class approach rather than singling students out and getting them to do different work, which they are quite aware of and don't really like to see that they are doing something different than their peers. And then our incidental positives were it creates a good study tool or resource for revision and it cuts down on that copy, paste, submit and becomes an actual useful document for them. So yeah, that's all. Oh, sorry that I talk really fast. I do that when I get nervous. Any questions? You can stop filming now.
How do they go with the cue cards?
Pretty good. They do have trouble finding the correct definition. They'll come up with a biology definition that probably doesn't suit sports science and then not understand how it fits. So probably finding the right definitions is the hardest part that they get to. But they do whinge a little bit when it comes to the handwriting because it is a slower process. But then when it comes to tests, they're glad that they've got them. So yeah. Catch-22.
Do you get any feedback about how often they're using them? Like do you get students at the end of the year saying?
They catch on pretty quickly that the revision questions that we do at the start of most lessons will have elements of this in it. So they will start bringing them to most classes, and using them as a revision tool. But we haven't done any sort of pre or post testing to see whether, it'd be a bit hard to do.
I sometimes, not very often, I don't really get time, but I sometimes write a sort of strategy once you write the definition on the board, the word, you leave it up there for like 2 weeks before you're going to use it.
Yeah.
and then you're just looking at it, just randomly for 2 weeks, and then you start using it, and then they're like this being in the classroom.
Yeah.
Some of them have already learned.
Yeah, it's already been exposed to. Yeah, same sort of concept.
Yeah.
You can stop now.